What is going on, Jet fans? I am Matt O'Leary, back with another video. Today, what I want to get into is Zach Wilson's trade value. Why? Well, because there was a report courtesy of ESPN earlier today that gave some insight into what we might be able to expect to see Zach Wilson get traded for. Rich Cimini of ESPN has covered the New York Jets since dinosaurs roamed the earth, spoke to 3 personnel executives, a scout, and 2 assistant coaches to try to see what kind of value does Zach Wilson have and what could the Jets expect to get in return for Zach Wilson. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Some of these quotes are not great. So if you're expecting some sort of big return, or not big, but surprising return for Zach Wilson, I don't know. Okay, so one personnel executive had this to say. Maybe they could ask for something on day 3, a mid-day 3 pick, meaning something like a 5th or 6th round pick in that range. Okay, 5th seems optimistic, in my opinion. 6th, all right. We'll see. That sounds all right. One of the scouts said the Jets would get a 7th round pick if they're lucky. One assistant coach said, not making this up, this was actually in the article, I'd give up a 2-week stay at Best Western. I'm not a fan. Man. Oh, that's harsh. That is harsh for our guy, Zach Wilson. Another personnel executive suggested the Jets seek a 2025 conditional pick based on playing time. So, like, for example, a 4th round pick if Wilson plays 50% of the offensive snaps in 2024. Okay, that might end up being their best option. I think a pick swap is probably what's going to be on the table, like Zach in a 6th for a 5th or somewhere around that range. Maybe it's a 2025 pick swap. I just don't see things going the way that the Jets are going to be like, oh, they've traded Zach Wilson straight up for a 4th round pick, like what Trey Lance got. Well, Trey Lance had 2 years of control remaining, and Zach Wilson only has 1 year, and Zach Wilson's contract is a tad higher because he was a pick earlier. That makes a difference here. People will point to, well, what about the Sam Darnold trade? And they got 3 picks, including a 2nd round pick. Well, Sam Darnold was traded for to be a starter. No one is trading for Zach Wilson to be a starter on this team, for any team in the NFL. There's not a single team in the NFL that would trade for him and be like, he is definitely, absolutely guaranteed a starting spot. You look at, in this article also, some references to other backup quarterbacks, which Zach Wilson entered his 3rd season in the NFL as QB2 for the Jets and ended up having to play a lot because of injuries. But the trades that were mentioned in here, Nick Mullins from the Raiders to the Minnesota Vikings for a conditional 7th, Jared Stidham from New England to the Raiders for a 6th, Case Keenum from the Browns to the Bills for a 7th, Joe Flacco from the Eagles to the Jets for a conditional 6th. Granted, none of those guys were number 2 picks, 4 years or 3 years prior, but at the end of the day here, I don't know. Like, what are you really expecting at that point is my question. I don't think you can go into this with an expectation of a 2nd or 3rd round pick or, anywhere that high. The best that I've seen is mid-round pick swap, which I would imagine maybe the Jets have multiple 4th round picks. So Zach in a 4th for a 3rd. Maybe that is your best case scenario for a Zach Wilson trade. I just don't think it looks very promising if you're expecting to get something and have a massive impact on this draft class. Unless the Jets are attacking or attaching a pick with it, Zach Wilson for whatever, it's not going to be a lot. And then you're going to get and I've seen the pushback already. Well, the Jets should just keep Zach Wilson. Why? For what? He has 1 year. Again, he has 1 year left on his contract. You're not picking up his 5th year option. It would be an astronomical number. He's making like $5 million against the cap, something like that for next year. It's a pricey number for a backup quarterback, and the Jets should, keyword being should, be looking for an improvement in the backup quarterback department this year. So what, are you going to have Zach making $5 million as QB3 just to have him, and then another quarterback making $5 to $10 million as QB2, and then Aaron Rodgers also on the roster? Wouldn't you rather, if you're going to carry a third quarterback, have it be someone that you could develop over multiple years? Like, Zach Wilson is no longer in that developmental range because he's going into the final year of his deal. It was different going into this year if he was just going to sit and maybe get a chance to play in 2024 or 25, but that seems a really long ways away from Aaron Rodgers not being here. And look, Zach had it's a big sample size now that we've seen of Zach Wilson. I'm sorry. There's a lot of fans to his game. I get it. I was high on him coming out of college. I thought he's shown some flashes, but over his now, 30 plus starts in the NFL, it's a big sample size, man. I think they're better off just moving on and getting whatever they get for him. Whatever they get for him, that's fine. Let me know your thoughts on the Zach Wilson trade proposals or trade compensation thoughts. My favorite is the assistant coach who said he'd give up a 2-week stay at Best Western. That is, what a quote. That's going to do it for me. Subscribe if you're new. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.